Hi everyone, so we're going to be taking a look how we can add these 3D animations onto our Expo application. So here I just have a box, and then I just have this other random shape right here. So we're going to look at how we can, add the lights and the effects and just create these 3D objects on our Expo application. So what I have here is I just have a default template for my Expo application. As long as you have one page ready, then it's good to go. Let me just test this out to make sure it works. So I'll do npx expo start. And then I'll just hit the letter A on my keyboard to open with Android. And I'll just hit the letter R as well in case it's having a hard time reloading. Just gonna try to swipe this. I'll click this little square here, and then I will see if I could swipe out of all these things here. Swipe, clear all, hit A for Android. Just want to make sure that this default template is working. And once we got it up and running, we should just see this welcome for the home page here. And we're going to modify this page, of course. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up our components first. So here at our root here, we want to make sure nothing is clicked. And then we need to click folder, new folder here. We're going to call this new folder components. And inside of our components, what we'll do is we'll have a folder and we'll call it box. And then inside our box, we'll have a index.js. And just so it doesn't look so hard to read, I'm going to make another folder because we're going to use it anyways later. And I'm going to call it torus not. And then in here, in this folder, I'll make it index.js as well. So we have the two different shapes that we will be using in this example. I'm just going to be focusing on the box first. So in our box component, let's first set up our default template. And before I set up anything else, I also want to install React 3 Fiber in our project and also Expo GL. So I'm just going to go to my README first. And right here in my README file, I'm going to go down to the bottom and I'm going to install a few things here. So it's going to be installations. I will install these two commands right here in my terminal. So I'm just going to end this server and then I'll just paste one command line at a time. So the Expo GL. And I'm also going to grab this line of commands right here, npm install 3 at React 3 Fiber. And once we know that these two are installed, it should be in our package.json. So if I go here, we will see Expo GL, and then I'm just waiting for this one to finish here. So we should have our 3 Fiber now, which is right here, 3 Fiber. It's installed. So we know that it is ready to go. So let's go to our box index.js. Just like the other video that I created for Next.js, we have to add a mesh tag. So mesh. And then we're going to add all the contents in our mesh right here. But before I do that, I'm going to go to the home.js. So let me just go to home.js because this is the main area that we'll be putting stuff in. So I'm just going to delete this and I'm just going to, instead of this view tag, I'm going to add a canvas tag. Canvas opening tag, canvas closing tag. So that should be good. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add some ambient light. So let me go to the documentation so you know what the ambient light is about again. So right over here, I went to React 3 Fiber website and I clicked on canvas right here. So the canvas is going to be very important. It kind of what holds everything together. So we need the canvas tag around everything that we set up. And what you see here is we're going to add some sort of whatever, lights that we want to add for our object. And then later on, we'll add a mesh tag with whatever tags we want to put into here. But since we have these items in its own components, then we actually really only need to call the component directly and then just paste it right here. And then let's take a look at the lights first. So we could see right here in React 3 Fiber, we can add lights. So here in our canvas, we're going to have an ambient light, direction light, so we can add like how intense the light will be, what type of color of light, like where is the light going to be coming from. So we could specify this with our ambient light and directional light. These are the two main tags that we will be using in our project. So let's go back to our project. Right over here in our home.js, we're just going to add those two different tags. I'll put ambient light in camel case and self-closing tag. And then I'll also add a spotlight actually, self-closing tag, and I'll add a directional light, self-closing tag. So what I want to do is I also want to add the box component. I know it's not fully done yet, but I'm just going to import box from our components here. And then I'm going to, under the directional light, just add the box self-closing tag because we already have it all set up in our box component. So we don't need to add the mesh again. So what I'm going to do is here just finish off these ambient light tags, and then I'll just finish off these light tags. I'll put intensity is equal to, I'll put something really low like 0.005. Put a 0 in front of there. And then I'll also add intensity here for spotlight is equal to 0.5, so it's not so bright. And then I'll put a position of right here, -1, 1.5, 1.5, and that should be good. And then I'll add a color for the directional light, which will be, I'll just make it white. And then position, I'll put the curly brace and then square brackets inside. I'll just make it 10, 10, 10. So I could specify what direction, where's it coming from, like top left, bottom right, whatever it is. So you can always play around with these numbers. And then I got the spotlight, how intense I want the light that's shining on a given spot on the object. And then ambient light, just like nice natural lighting, just really faint to give it that nice 3D effect. And then I'll go back to my box right here. And inside my box.js, I'm going to set up the use frame. So use frame is just something that's used with React 3 Fiber. So I'll put use frame. So once I have this imported, I will also import the use state. I'll also import use state and also comma use ref, comma use ref. So right in here, in between the mesh, I want to add some sort of geometry or shape. So we're going to be using a box geometry. Let me find it in documentation. So here on the site called Three.js, we could see here if I go to documentation and I scroll down a little bit. I'm going to go to the different types of geometries that is available. Here, geometries. I'm going to just be using a regular box geometry. You can always play around with all these other types of geometries as well. I'm just going to go box geometry. And we could see here we're going to get this box that we want to use. And this is set up a little bit differently here. But let's go back to our code. I'll show you how we could set up this box geometry. The main thing to look out for is how these different geometries are spelt here and what types of values can be used, because once we set it up once for one type of geometry, the same technique is used for all the other geometries as well. So let's go here to our box index.js. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a box geometry in camel case. And it is a self-closing tag. And then I'll put a mesh standard material. So how do we want this box to look? For now, I'll just put a color, and I'll say if it's active, we're going to click on this box, and if it's active, it will be green. If it's not, it will be yellow. And since I have this word active, I need to set up a use state right here. So const active set active, and then that'll equal to use state of false, and then const mesh is equal to use ref, and I'll set up a use frame, and I will put some sort of state if I want to, and I'll call it delta. What we're going to do is we're just going to make this box rotate on its own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a mesh.current.rotation.y plus equals delta. So this will help it rotate. This will help rotate the given object. And what we want to do on our mesh as well is we want to add some sort of position. So in this first opening tag, we're going to add a position is equal to, and then square brackets, -1, 1, 4, or now 1, 1, 0. And then I'll do ref is equal to mesh, and then ... props scale is equal to active. So if someone clicks it, it will increase in size here. If it's not, it'll just be the regular size. On click, we'll just say event, and then set active to whatever the opposite it is, active. And since I'm using this props here, I'm just going to be adding in the props here as well. In these rounded brackets, I'll add props. And this should be good for now. And this one should be event right here, not even, event. So I will save that. And let me run this. npx expo start. Okay, so I'm just pushing A to hopefully restart the application here. So let me just click R to refresh. I'm just clicking R on my keyboard to refresh the application. So right over here it says the canvas doesn't exist because we did not import it at the top here. So let's import the canvas from React 3 Fiber here. Let's save it and click R on the keyboard to reload the app. I'll just hit A on my keyboard for Android. See if this refreshes it. I'll just hit R on my keyboard to reload the app again. Alright, so it looks like we have some sort of expected after case or default. Okay, so let's take a look here. Okay, so I'm going to go in my box component and let me see here. So okay, let's try restarting the server here. So I'll end the server and then I will start it back up again. And I'll just close down this application here. Clear all. And once it's loaded here, I'll just hit A for Android. And right over here, now we got it working. I'm just going to close this. I'm just going to close that pop-up there. And you can see that we have it, the yellow block. You can see we have the yellow block. And if I click on it, you can see it turns green. And then I click on it again, it turns yellow. Because remember, we set this mesh standard material, the color, so only when it's active, when the person clicks on it and is true, it will be green, but when it's unclicked or it's not clicked at all, it will be yellow. So this active is what's changing the toggle between the two different colors of the boxes and also the size as well. But the use frame right here is what's doing the rotation along the y-axis here, and it's just rotating this mesh. And then here, this is where we get our box, and then whatever color we want to apply onto our box. So next, we're going to get into how we can add another shape, which is the torus knot. We don't have our code set up here, so what I could do is I could just copy everything from the box, and I'll just put it inside the torus knot. And I'm just going to delete the stuff inside for now, just so I could start off with a fresh template here. I'll just delete this, and I will also delete the imports because we won't need it. And what I'm going to do is I'm still going to keep the props there, but I'll also change this to torus knot so it has its own function name. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up this object. So in order to get the geometry, remember we could see from our list of geometries online. So right here from the Three.js site, if we go to the docs, then if we scroll down to our different geometries, which is right here, we will look for torus knot right here, torus knot geometry. And we want to create this torus knot shape. So what we can do is we can go to our code and we are going to use this spelling right there to create our shape. So in our mesh, we will add a torus knot geometry self-closing tag. And I'm also going to add a position is equal to, and then square bracket, 1, -1, and 0. And then I'll add some sort of texture on top of it, or just a color for now, and I'll put mesh standard material self-closing tag, and I'll say the color is orange this time. Orange. So I will save this, and then what I'll do is I will also go to my home.js and I will import the other component that we just set up. So import torus knot. So we got it right here from our components. And right under the box, we are just going to now add our torus knot that we imported. Just like that. we got our box, and we got our torus knot. So let's save this. I have to refresh this page. I'm going to actually end the server, and then I will restart it. So what I'll do is I'll just hit A for Android. I'll just hit R to reload the app as well. And this should refresh the app, and we should get our torus knot here. So let me just refresh it one more time here, reloading the app. And we just want it to rebundle because then it'll grab all the changes. Alright, so expected at end of parenthesized expression. Okay, let's see. Double check our code. Torus knot, torus knot. Okay, components. I'm just going to end the server one more time, and I'll restart it. And what I'll do right here is I will refresh this Metro bundler. Okay, so then I'll click A to open with Android. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to clear all to start from scratch. Okay, I'm going to call this, go back to my index.js here. So this is actually, I spelt it incorrectly, should be torus. T-O-R-U-S, T-O-R-U-S, that's why. So I'm going to rename this component here to T-O-R-U-S, T-O-R-U-S, torus knot. And I will go back to home and make sure this is OR as well, and OR here, torus knot. That's why it wasn't working, is because we just spelt it incorrectly. So I'll save it. I will refresh, reload the app. So let me end the server here. I'm just going to end the server and then I'll restart it. I'll just hit A for Android. I'll just refresh the app here, reloading. Alright, so it says expected semicolon somewhere. So let me take a look here. Torus knot, torus knot. Okay, I'm going to try to just get out of the clear all, and then I will open the Android one more time here. So what I'm going to do in case that issue is still persisting, I'll see if I could add a metro.config.js. So hopefully this will be able to resolve that random error. I will do module.export resolver, and I will say that these different files, if they exist, then they should be okay. And if you use any assets, then these should be okay as well. So we just want to make sure that the JavaScript files work in our project. So I'm going to save this and make sure your metro.config is at the root of your project. And I'm going to just end the server and I will restart it. npx expo start. And what I'll do here is I'll just A to open Android. So there we go. It works now. So we got our little torus knot, and then we got our box that we could click on. It expands, it goes back to normal. So that's how you go about setting up the Three.js for Expo applications. Hope this helped you get started.